Now we have audio. There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We'll make sure I can hear from you guys that the audio is working on. It looks like it's working, but I'll wait for just a second to make sure. Have a fun announcement, so I'm just going to wait for that really quick. All is good now. Okay, so tonight we actually, it's not just for tonight, it's going to be going on all week. Make sure head over to our MeWe group. The link is in the video description. There's a post that says giveaway on it. You cannot enter any other way than commenting on that post. So don't message me. You're welcome to message me. It just isn't going to get you an entry because I'm not set up for that. Don't just make a random I want to enter post anywhere. And it's only on MeWe because Facebook and Instagram I do not trust for anything like this with their whole, we're going to randomly delete people who violated nothing. So yes, MeWe only. Link is in the video description. And for those in the US, let's do this bigger, we're doing a giveaway of the painting from last week. Rob, he didn't answer yet, so I don't know if he wanted me to out him as the donator here, but Rob is donating this painting for you guys to have a chance to win. Again, the winners for this painting are only available in the US, but then I feel so bad for those outside of the US, so we are having an open portion of the giveaway. I'm also going to give away 5 mini prints, and those are also available for those inside or outside of the US. If you're on Patreon at the top tier, you already have all those mini prints, but you can get another one. Oh yeah, Rob said out me. Yeah, but was it permission to out you, or are you just calling me out now for outing you? But anyway, yes, so those in the US, make sure just put your state, and don't put your whole address because we don't need to dox yourself. Put your state and obviously that you're in the US, and that way if you have the chance to win this one, and then we will be announcing the winners on next Wednesday's live stream. So the 13th of December, if I looked at the date right. Maybe I didn't. I don't know, but you got a chance to win this. So let's see. What else? I think that's it. So again, link is in the video description, and definitely head over to MeWe if you want a chance to win that one. So thank you again so much to Rob for donating that. What a fun, yay. Okay. So on to tonight's live stream. Tonight we are going to be painting this adorable little chickadee in acrylics. This is being painted on a Fredrix watercolor oh look, I did it right side up this time. A watercolor canvas board, and just for transparency, Fredrix, I am sponsored by Fredrix, already the only canvas I used, and my brain just completely shut down, because you know when you say something you've said a million times over and over again, but you get one sentence backwards, and then my brain's like, wait, I don't know what to do with this information. Fredrix did provide me with the canvas that I'm using here tonight. Oh, there we go. So the canvas boards, normally your canvas boards that you get at like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, those generic ones, if you've used them, you know they warp like crazy. I mean, any canvas board and enough humidity, you might have issues there. Once you frame it, you're usually okay. Maybe, but with the Fredrix ones, I don't have an issue with these ones warping. If you get to the big 16 by 20, maybe, if you frame them, you're fine. But yeah, that is a huge bonus here. And the Fredrix, the watercolor canvas boards, I don't even use them for watercolor. I use them mainly for acrylic. I've used them for oils as well, but they're super, super smooth. So great for fine detail, great for really smooth blending. I love these canvases. We are starting off the night, actually, and she's even said it the way I was going to word it. Sylvia said, we need to start the right way with a treat for the boys. Look, they know. You want a super chat? Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Back away. You don't need to, I do not want you drooling over my water cup. Yeah. Greyhounds are supposed to have dry mouths. You two sure drool a lot when there's treats involved. Good boys. Okay, go lay down. Lay down. Good boy, Bad Cow. Wow. Bad Cow was the first to go into his bed. Lay down. Impressive. You can't tell, but his belly band is actually embroidered to say the Bad Cow on it. I thought that was hilarious. I get them custom made from somewhere on Etsy, and they offer embroidering for free. Yep, his had to say the Bad Cow. He's got a couple pairs like that. Okay, pairs. Do you call a belly band pair? I don't know. It's like underwear. You can call those pairs. Moving on. So let's see. Okay, so I have drawn this out on a piece of tracing paper, and then use transfer paper, which is just a little sheet. I don't have it here. You just slide the transfer paper under it, and you use a little stylus, and you sketch everything out, and then you've got your line drawing. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Now, I did start this painting with a light gray for a base just to save time, so we're not sitting here watching paint dry before, because you do need the paint to be all the way dry for your background before you can use transfer paper. Things don't stick real well when the painting is wet. So now I recommend if you use this technique where you're tracing and transfer paper, save your tracing paper until the painting is done, because if you get to going on here and you realize, I don't know, I think I screwed up the eye, I don't even think it's in the right place anymore, and you don't trust your freehanding skills, you can double check yourself. It's like a little guideline, you put it back, or template almost, you put it back on and make sure your eye is positioned where you want it, or whatever it is that you felt might be off. Really good way to double check your work. So, and this painting you can bid on. My website has been kicking back all kinds of errors when it comes to the auction. So it is up for auction. I think I put it at $70, $75. Over, the link is in the video description. If it doesn't allow anyone to bid, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't even know. I don't know how to fix it. Yeah, it's fun times. So if nobody bids on this and you wanted it and it wasn't letting you bid, just email me, Lisa at Lachri, after. If no one's won it, you can have it for the whatever the bidding starting price was. That's what I've done in the past when it wasn't working. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do on this one, it's already painted this light gray. I'm going to get I want a hint of some gray or greenish gray maybe in the background. I'm just going to do it as a glaze. I don't want to, like, normally I would just do that wet into wet to get that really smooth blending, but just for dry time, I'm going to do it this way. The other thing I wanted to point out before we get started, if you look at my palette, this is from 1 week ago. From last Wednesday, this paint still wet. Even this area that you would think would dry. That's why these Masters brush, what is it, Masterson? Masterson. Yes, Masterson. I don't know, I think the link's in the video description. These palettes are so amazing because this paint, I mean, all of this is pretty, yep, that's even wet. So, yeah, oh, I forgot to grab paper towels. I was not ready. I have to go grab those. But that's kind of amazing. Acrylic paint from a week ago. So I just wanted to point that out. Like these palettes will make your paint last so much longer. They actually save you money because you're not, like, I can put out a bunch of paint and it's still good. Like I will be using most of that tonight. Okay, hold on just a second. I need to go get paper towel. Oh, no, I have a roll in here. Never mind. This is what happens when you don't put things in back where they go. You can't find anything. But then again, the days that I clean, I lose everything. So that maybe isn't the most logical thinking. Okay. And the links for the supplies I'm using are in the video description. They are affiliate links, so if you were to buy it from like Amazon, I get a little bit of a kickback from that, so you help me, keep the lights on. It's amazing. Okay. Move. I don't think I need any of these colors. Well, you're going to sit on the floor. Hopefully Bad Cow doesn't decide to chew on you. That happened one time. It was yellow paint. I now have a rug that has yellow paint on it. And I'm just going to use the green that's on the palette. I'm going to grab a brush here. Now, when I glaze over this, I don't want to scrub the brush back and forth because it might lift some of my line drawing. So what I will do is thin my green, a little bit of water. I'm going to go green. Let's pull some of this muddy color in there because I don't want it that bright green. Maybe a little aqua. Ooh, aqua will be pretty. Ooh, that's nice. Now I'm getting this more grayish tone as I'm mixing in there. That is out of the way. Or you can't see the bottom there. Let's see if I can move. There we go. And after I do this, I see that from you, Kirsten. Thank you. I can't say it. I can't sound excited. The boys will know. Let me get this background in first so we can let it dry. So I'm just thinning this with a bit of water. And just so you can see a little bit better how, oops, just turn off the light, how thinned down that is. It's fairly translucent. Now, I did not want to mix white in there. The aqua color is a little bit opaque, but, oh, I see that, JL, thank you. Okay, I can't sound excited. Hold on, I'll get to that in a second. Anyway, I don't want white mixed in with this because it's going to give me a foggier look than I want. So I'm just going to throw a little bit of green in here. And I'm going to go a little bit darker on my background than what the actual reference photo has. I'm going to spray this with a fine mist sprayer so that this will blend with a mop brush. But I'm going to go a little bit darker because I want to make some little brush strokes of snow or little sprinkles of snow later for some, oops, too much water. There we go. See how, because the, okay, let me explain this so you see why this is blending that smooth. What I've done, if I tried blending this up against dry paint, like I put this over the gray, and then I use the mop brush to try to blend it out, You are not going to get this effect. It's not going to be nice and soft. The reason this is soft is I'm misting the canvas that's next to it. So the dry gray part, I'm getting everything wet. So I'm blending now wet into wet. Now the wet has no paint, it's just water, but I'm blending the wet paint into just the wet water, and that gives me this nice smooth look. Again, if I just tried blending with a mop brush over this, what it'll do is build up around the edges. You'll get this hot spot edge, this harsh edge. The only reason that this mop brush is working right now is I'm blending wet over wet. Wet paint over wet water. That sounds redundant, but it's important. Wet paint over the dry background, going to be a harsh, sloppy mess. It has to be wet to get that mop brush to work. But it's a very cool technique. And now look, it looks like, well, wet into wet. So let's dry this and then give the boy, I can't say it. Now you may be thinking, can you use just a regular spray bottle? No, because the water droplets are too heavy, and so it'll pull paint off instead of this. You want that super fine mist, so either airbrush it, airbrush water, or fine mist sprayer. And I've been using the same one for years. This thing is amazing, and I used to always just use the airbrush, but it's actually easier. Airbrush is more consistent, so it technically is better. But we will go through. We've got from, let's scroll back up. Do you boys want a super chat from Kirsten and JL? Wade's like, no, I don't think it's true. I think you're lying to me. You want a super chat, Wade? Wade, do you not? He's like, until I hear that bag, I don't trust you. I'm not getting up. Really, Wade? You're going to lick your lips, but you're not getting up. Are you just trying really hard to be a good cow? You're missing out on super chat treats. What in the world is with him? Seriously? It's kind of funny. He's like, you said I was so good when I went and laid down. Wade, you want your super chat? Oh, he saw it. Here he comes. That one's from Kirsten. Oh, that's very tasty. I shouldn't do this. If I give it to them now, they're going to think they get 2 every time. And then they already see the treat. There's from JL. Whoop, don't get his. You have to grab Wade's head so he doesn't grab. Gibson dropped his and Wade will dive for it. Okay, good boys. Okay, go lay down. Oh my God, Gibson, seriously? Gibson crunched his into 100 pieces, and now he's licking it off the floor. I'm not surprised. It's just, really, during the live stream, that's what you're going to do? Go lay down. Go on. That's it. Go, lay down. Thank you guys so much. That was kind of funny. Yes, you are very good, Wade. I'm impressed. Okay. So now we've got this nice light, just very pale gray there. We're going to go ahead and start on the Chickadee. So whenever I'm painting, I start with whatever is farthest back and work my way forward. So background, next will be the bird, and then we've got the snow up front. So, and actually I need to get a little bit of a shadow here. I can do that before I start this, or while I'm painting the bird, I'll throw that in. But let's go ahead and start deciding, do I want to go black on the bird and pull in light highlights on the black portion, or do I want to go mid-gray and put black shadows over that? Decisions. Let's go black first. Doesn't really matter, either way would work. So I'm mixing a bit of water, as always, in with my black paint, or with my acrylics. I never just paint straight paint out of the tube. So I'm not worrying about creating the look of texture of feathers really here, because this is going to be, I'm going to put highlights and create the textures that way. The edge I do want to be a little bit floofy though. If you are getting, I don't know if you can see this, if you start to get, it doesn't really show. Can you see? Little bit, like little dots. It's not super smooth. That happens when you need a little bit more paint, a little bit more of the water, paint and water on your brush. Actually, I need a round brush too. Do I have one over here? There's a liner. There's a round. That's going to make it easier for me. And this is just, both of these are just generic paint brushes, no name brand. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go a little bit whiter on the eye. And we can fill that in. See, I don't really care about brush strokes or anything because we're going to be cleaning that up later. Let's see if I can zoom that in just a bit for you guys. Whoops. It's always, oh, that actually worked easier than I expected. That's a bit better. Okay, and then we've got the black down here. Now you don't want too much water mixed in with your paint. We're not trying to make it so it's runny or too translucent. We just want it to flow nice and smooth. Okay, we've got some dark feathers over there. We're not going to worry about that just yet. Now I'm going to rinse that brush. Now, do not leave your brushes sitting in the water. You don't want to just stick them in there to soak. One, they don't need to soak. You're not actually doing any good. All you do when you leave your brushes sitting in there is damage the ends of the bristles. Always rinse them, set them to the side. And don't set them like this because the water will keep soaking in there and some of the glues can sometimes, I've actually not had that happen in a very long time, but sometimes the glue will well, probably because I don't leave them that way, but even sideways, sometimes the glue will loosen up. Let's not make it worse by holding it this way so the glue's running inside. Okay, we're going to dry this. I'm just going to go through actually and get a really loose base layer on everything. I'm going to jump around a little bit. So we're going to go through some seriously ugly stages here for a bit. I'm going to mix some raw sienna, or red oxide, I believe that is, with black, which gives me a brownish tone. And this is going to look too dark. And the reason is, well, that's not even dark enough. I need it to be too dark so that when I come on top with the light feathers, these dark bits show through. So even the areas that need to be white, I don't want them to be white right now. As we get down into here, we need to get some, go with, let's see, what colors did I grab? Bronze yellow, that'll work. Maybe. Actually, that's kind of greenish. No, I don't like that color. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's not. Where? I thought I grabbed a yellow ochre, but I don't see where it is. Do I have any down here? No, hold on. Yellow oxide, that'll work. I just want to get kind of a dark creamy brown color for the body. Pretty much what I'm doing, it's almost going to look like a stamp at this point, like really solid. Oh, and there went my fine mist sprayer. Hope I don't need you again tonight. Okay. Did I put that out? I did. Pay attention. So we're going to mix that. I'm going to pull some of that brown. It's even got a little bit of the black that I was using. Again, I need it to be kind of dark so that my light colors will show through it. If it's not, you're not going to be able to see them. I don't need to worry about blending this. As I move out this way, though, I do want to start moving into a darker gray. So let's get some black and a bit of white, so that gives us that gray tone. Too light, more black. That's probably good enough. See what I mean by it looks really bad? I promise it's going to look good when we're done, but we need to get this base dark. If that is not dark enough, our lights will not show. And we've got another dark area back here. I'm not even washing my brush in between. It doesn't really matter. I'm just worried about my values as far as, are my darks dark enough, my lights light enough? Well, really, in this case, it's just about getting your darks dark enough. And I think this is going to look so good with that atmosphere, like the atmospheric, would that be the word? It sounds fancy, but I don't think that was proper grammar either. But the look at the atmosphere that the snow will create. This is really watery. Added a little bit too much water, but it'll work. And I'm just going to create lines going through here, so I've got the general idea where those feathers are going to be, or at least the direction that they move in. And then let's go ahead and get the base of the beak. Okay, let's dry that. So see, hot mess, but it's gonna look good. Oh, I actually, while I'm at it, I may as well get the shadow under the bird just a little bit. So we'll just take some of that grayish tone. Now, one of the things that's so great when you're using the super smooth canvas like this, that watercolor canvas board, I'm essentially dry brushing on a lot of this, but it doesn't look like that. The crappy look like acrylics when you dry brush rarely look good. But when you use a smooth enough surface, and I've had people say, well, people airbrush with or dry brush with oils. Yeah, oils, dry brushing with oils does not look the same as dry brushing with acrylics. Not the same monster at all. Done the same way, but you do not get those same results because the acrylics dry so fast. They just look harsh. So I could probably go a little bit darker there. It's easy enough to lighten it up, so I'd almost rather go too dark than not dark enough just to make my life easier later. But when your canvas is this smooth, it doesn't really look that dry brushed. A little bit it does because I'm super messy down here. I did not turn my notifications on in case Nick has to message me for anything to do with Discord or messages that you guys give me, and I don't know where that is. The app changed and I can never find anything now. Nope, that's not the right one. There we go. Okay. Now I need to dry this and we can start making it look good. But I also want to point out the technique that I did earlier where I got this, it was just really thin down a glaze and then wet this and then got this super smooth blending. If your canvas is really rough, let's say you're using a heavy tooth, like a Fredrix Red Label, or do they sell the Red Label still? I think they do. But like something with a little bit more tooth, you're not going to get it to look that smooth. You need a really smooth canvas for that specific technique to work. Okay, let's now start with the head. So I'm going to use my rake brushes. If you don't have a rake brush, you can use a liner brush or just an old, if you've got an old brush that's just a little frayed, that can work for you too. Let's get the eye. Actually, I think I'm going to do the, yeah, let's do the eye. I had a liner brush and then I lost it. There we go. So we've got the super dark area here. We want to make sure that we can see definite light and definite dark. And he's, oh, I don't need this anymore. That didn't mean I wanted it thrown on the floor. So we're going to come around here. We've got this darker area. And let's get the highlight for the eye. So I'm going to use white. I'm going to pull a little bit of blue into that. So it always looks better on a highlight. So I'll do like a light blue and then bright white for the brightest highlight. So I'm going to curve that. Well, there's not enough water in that. Let's try that again. Too much water now. I'm also going to use this to line the highlight just around the eye. Remember, the harder you push with your brush, the thicker your line is going to be. So this one is a number 2, I believe, synthetic hog-haired liner brush. It's one of your generic Hobby Lobby ones. As much as I hate generic art supplies, I don't hate generic paint brushes. So I'm going to put just a white dot right there. Look how good the eye looks, better than the reference photo. Yay. Anyway, the brush, these little synthetic hog-haired liners, like any liner brush is going to work. And I know a lot of people will go through looking for tiny brushes with like super, super short, little teeny tiny hairs, just a wisp of hair. That is not going to work with acrylics. You can use that with watercolor. You can use it with Inktense because that's going to clean all the way. With acrylics, you want these super long. Look at how long, let's see if you can see. The bristles are really long. I don't want to say the longer the better because I did buy one once that was like this long, too long. But you want that longer bristle so that it loads more paint in the brush. So bonus there, you're not just constantly reloading it. But I'm mostly trying to keep the paint up here. When the paint starts building up here, the bristles start going like this instead of staying nice and together. So you want these, but you want to use a light hand. People think that if they use the smaller brush, that's going to give them, we're going to do a little bit on the beak here, that's going to give them finer details. It's actually the opposite. You're going to get thinner lines. If you're using your liner brush, just learn how to use your liner brush. Let's go ahead and load some black in there. We'll get some of the darker areas now on the underside here of the beak. Okay, that's good. Now let's start in with some of these medium gray tones. I'm going to use my rake brush. This one is who is this one by? King Art. So I got this one on Amazon. I think the link is in the video description. This one is a 1/4 inch. And it's a rake brush, but it's a filbert. So those rounded tips. I cannot stand flat rake brushes, give you the most unnatural look because the start and stop point is so harsh. Like with a rake brush, so what are rake brushes? This is your normal brush, this is your rake brush. So when your brush is flat, your start and stop point is so harsh, it is so unnatural looking. Go with a filbert when you get your rake brush. So I'm gonna mix some black and some white because I want a dark, like a charcoal gray. I'm going to mix a bit of purple in that too, or like magenta, so it's not too flat. Actually, blue would probably be better. And if I think I'm going to go a little bit lighter than what I think I want my end result to be. And if it's too light, then I just glaze over it. But you need a decent amount of water. This is very similar to the liner brush. If you don't have enough water in there, it's not going to work well. I think this might be too light or too dark. I mean, yeah, it is. Dragon's having all kinds of fun in his tank over there. And that is actually going to be the next video I'm working on, is building, which is like sculpting essentially, his tank. So that'll be fun. So I'm just going to this is better. And then if it's too light, I can always glaze over it. I'm just going to pay attention to the direction. Look at the reference photo, and that reference photo is available. The link is in the video description. You do not have to be a member to get that. And I'm just going to give you the hint of which direction the feathers are going. It's very important that the black shows through. Now, if I go a little bit too crazy, which I think I did in a couple areas, I'm just going to come back through with black to darken some of this up. No problem. That works. Definitely going to come back through with some black. And we've got right in through here. And I'm not pushing very hard with this, just like a liner brush. We want to use a fairly light hand. If you push very hard, it just works like a normal filbert instead of a rake brush. So you don't get those little individual lines. I want those individual lines. Okay, let's rinse this out. And I'm going to come back through now with some black. Oops, I wiped out too much water. I need water on this. And one of the things you don't ever see is when I'm painting, whenever I load the brush, I have paper towels under my easel. I just tap it, just like a little dab, before I go onto the canvas. So I'm just pulling some of these dark bits in that I got a little too crazy with on the light areas. That up a bit. That's some of that I'll do with a liner brush. Typically, whenever I use a rake brush, I will come back through with a liner and just do a little bit more refining of things. Okay, let's get some white. We're going to work on this area. Now, if this area wasn't dark enough, the white that we're going to do wouldn't show up. And that's why it was so important that we went pretty dark. Again, just paying attention to the direction that these feathers move. That is so important. We don't want just random confetti shapes all over the place. There it is. See how it starts to curve back around the head? And then they move together in these sorts of clumps and clusters, kind of little rows. It's not just random, like again, not confetti lines. We're not just lines everywhere. Look at your photo where these feathers are clumped together. So you can see like almost this row of dark. And it's a bit brighter in person than what you're seeing on the camera. I have that toned a little darker because it tends to overexpose the white, but it is not showing at all now. Pull a little bit of the white over the black here, a little bit over the beak. Fluff him up. Pulling a little bit more up into the black there, again, to fluff them up. And then some of these areas where I already put the white, I'm going to make them a little bit more bold. Okay. Now I'm going to work on this area, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to be using white. We're going to be pulling this down. Just get some little lines in there. Need a little bit more water. Oops, that's got a chunk. That's not going to work for me. There we go. Wipe the chunk off. Have I mentioned lately that you should look at your reference photo? You want to teach yourself, copy what you see. That looks good. Okay. I think I'm going to move on to his feathers. Now this liner or this rake brush can work like a liner brush if I hold it right, or like a round brush. I can get thin lines. Oh, that's a good. Heather asked if I can do acrylic Christmas glitch. How cute would that? We are going to have to do that. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, we can. And that may be what we do next week. So I'm going to start here. We've got the lighter feathers this way. And I'm not going to put nearly as much detail as what the painting has, or the reference photo has, because this is, obviously a lot smaller. If you want a lot of detail, I recommend painting bigger. If I painted this on a 16 by 20, I could get every teeny little line so perfectly, which looks great in photographs, by the way. So if you're looking to really impress your viewers, like on Instagram or whatever, paint an animal like a chickadee big, where you've got all those little feathers. When you shrink that down into a photo on Instagram, oh my gosh, it looks amazing. Like, so good. You will wow them all. Maybe just a little too chunky there, whatever. But what I'm focusing on now, because this is smaller, and of course the time limits, that's the word I'm looking for. With the time limits, I'm going to focus more on my general shapes, the general movement, my lights and darks, and that's what's going to make mine look realistic. It's not depending on detail. I need a bit more black in through here, really more gray. Right in this section was kind of missing a, there we go. Now I'm going to switch to my liner brush for some of these details. So again, loading it the same way where that paint has to be thinned with water, and I'm just twisting that into the brush. If you've got a chunk of paint on your liner brush, you are not using it right. No chunky paint. And I can come back through with black lines too to make this contrast even more. That is the most active dragon. I can't wait to show you guys how I made that tank. Being that you're all artists, even if you're not into reptiles and stuff, I think that you're gonna really like the painting and the sculpting of it. Really fun. I'm going too light, so I'm gonna end up correcting this by going too dark intentionally after. Let's get some little lines in here. Okay. If you're new and you're like, what in the world does she keep talking about a dragon? I have a bearded dragon, and I built one of the coolest, honestly. And that's not just me tooting my horn. I've been told this by many people. Actually, the company that makes their cages, they ran my tank photos as an advertisement. So like they paid money to advertise, to sponsor the photos, but not paid me money, but paid, Facebook. Like, it's really cool. So I built him the coolest bearded dragon tank. One of the coolest. I've seen other ones that were really cool. Sherpa design. Oh my God, his is amazing. Or Sherpa. But yeah, so that is what I keep talking about. And that dragon is having a blast climbing around and making a bunch of noise in there right now. He's finally laid down. So I'm just coming in between, just creating the look of those lines. I'm creating the illusion of detail. It's not really that much detail. Let's get some shadows in between these feathers. I feel that that could be better. You know what? When something like that happens and you're like, I think I could do a better job. Don't be lazy. Do this. I've got enough time. Yeah, 8:37, I've got time. Let's go ahead and fix that really quick. I'm just going to paint them really dark. I don't like my lines are just not clean enough. I'm just going to paint this black. We're going to do that section again. This is one of my favorite things with acrylic paint. It is so forgiving. If you do something you're like, that was sloppy, I really should have done a better job, paint it again. Let me dry this, and then we've got something from Hitomi. Thank you so much, Hitomi. She said, the boys have not had a treat in a while. They must be hungry. Is it true? Do you want a super chat? Oh, you didn't, oops, ow. You just get elbowed in the head. I don't know which one of us that hurt more. You trusted me this time, huh, bad cow? Ow, your head is really hard. Yes, it is. There you go. Good boys. It couldn't have hurt him. Gibson's a screamer. He will scream if you just walk towards him with nail clippers because it might hurt. So I know he didn't get hurt because if his getting elbowed in his head hurt, he would have screamed. He would have let us all know. So I'm just going to feel sorry for myself now. Good boys. That's it. Go lay down. Gibson, lay down. Okay. Thank you again so much. Okay, so back to the painting. So this should be dry enough. And I'm actually going to do this again with the rake brush. So the cool thing with the rake brush is if you hold it to the side, I was mentioning this earlier, it'll work a lot like a liner brush or a round brush. Lay down, Gibson. I just need to get enough water there and get myself in the right position so I can move my, oh, that has pink. I don't want pink. I mean, a little wouldn't be terrible, but there we go. No, I don't like how that brush is working now. It's giving me a weird, I'm just going to clean that up with some water. Can work like an eraser. I'm not getting the smooth line that I want. There we go, now I have it. I need a brush that's a little bit more firm, I think. Let's try you. I don't know how well this one will work. The bristles are a little shorter. They might be more firm. We'll find out. There we go. Oh, much better. Okay, we got it. Just barely adding any pressure though. And then we've got the definite light up here. Much, much better. I still need to define, I'll use the liner brush to define some of these, but yeah, this down here is much better. I was just not liking how those were looking. But I love, and this is one of the reasons when I do surreal stuff, you'll usually see me do it with acrylics versus any other medium. So easy to change stuff, because one of the things that happens when you're doing surrealism, you don't, I mean, you have a lot of reference photos, but you don't have like everything together. So sometimes you'll put something and it's like, wow, It was a horrible idea, and you can go back and fix it. You're not like having to throw the canvas out of the paper. If you've done that in colored pencil, I mean, if you've already, let's say you decided you wanted a chickadee sitting in a teacup, and you realized, wow, that teacup, I made it red. Red looks horrible. I wish I'd made it blue. You can change that in acrylics, no problem. Colored pencil, as much as I love colored pencil, that's not, you know, you need to do a little bit more planning with things. So that's why you'll usually see me when I do surrealism go with, that is not going smooth. Go with acrylics over the other mediums. And you can do it with oils too, it's just that with the dry time. My God, that paint. So one of the problems with this paint being a little bit dry from last week is trying to find the balance of how much water to mix in with it. Like it's just starting to set enough. But I keep having to reload to get that right. There we go. Probably should put a, yeah, I need to put a fresh bit of white out because I'm running into the same thing again where it's just, I'm having a hard time getting that right. Oh, that's actually working for me. But that right balance. I need to dry that though because it's so thin it's going to start to run. White paint, that's what I was going to do. Eef. Let's see, here we go. Now that should solve my, I can't get the right mixture problem. Oh, hey, look at that. Much easier. When I'm doing like the thicker backgrounds, it's no big deal. But when I'm doing like the little details, it just I could not get the right balance of how much water versus how much paint. So I'm defining that a little bit more. I want more of the white up here. Oh, I already love this guy. Whoa, that was a mistake. So here's how you fix a mistake. Take that a bit too much paint on it. Take a clean brush with water and erase it. Problem solved. But that only works if what's underneath is dry and the paint that you're trying to erase is still wet. Just defining some of what's there a bit more. Okay, and then his tail was pretty good. I need some more darks in there though. We can almost paint on the snow. Line up right. Okay. Oh, no, I forgot his chest. We're not as done as I thought. Okay. Liner brush and white paint. Well, or not liner brush, rake brush. And this should work much easier because I'm using new paint. We're going to start here. And it's a little bit shorter through here, and the brushes can get a little bit longer and more clumpy as we move down. We have, let's do that real, well, actually, I just loaded this brush. Let me get a couple more things in here. We have another, I can't say the word or the boys are gonna know. Let me get the white and then we'll mix to that cream color. Pulling a little bit of white bits in there. Okay, we've got a super chat from Oriole Beagle. Says treat. You boys want a super chat? Okay. Oh, it looks like we've got two. I'm gonna make them wait a minute though between this batch and the next one. Oh boy, look at you taking that so gently. Why can't you do that always? Oh, thank you for slobbering on my hand. We've got another one from D-Lin Creative Arts. He says, my dog loves the cookies and